British Prime Minister Johnson wants to build several space stations in his country. This has economic reasons and should create hundreds of jobs. But most of all, it's about prestige. Grazing sheep, rugged cliffs, the roar of the waves, it doesn't get much more secluded than in the extreme northeast of the British Isles. And yet, here on Unst, at what feels like the end of the world, the starting shot is to be given soon for a project that the already ambitious British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has given an ambitious name: Galactic Britain. The Shetland Space Centre is being built on the island of Unst, from which the US company Lockheed Martin plans to launch an RS-1 launcher into space for the first time from British soil in 2022. Ultimately, there should be up to 30 such starts per year. Johnson's government praises its Galactic project as a bold new strategy which extends far beyond the Shetland Islands at the dividing line between the North Sea and the Atlantic. The days when the British space industry lazed around on the launch pad are over, said Johnson, announcing his space strategy. Several space stations or platforms are planned. The Shetland spaceport is hardly less remote, in the middle of the heathland in the far north of Scotland. From there, 2 satellites will soon be launched into space, albeit with smaller rockets than the world-famous Ariane or Soyuz. Newquay Airport in Cornwall in southwest England, almost 1,200 kilometers from Unst, is intended as a spaceport for horizontal launches, in which an aircraft launches the rocket at an altitude of around 11,000 meters. A site in Wales is also being examined. Prime Minister Johnson sees Great Britain at the forefront of the new competition for space travel. The United Kingdom should soon enter space from its own territory, Johnson proudly shows. So far, European launch vehicles have been launched from the Kourou spaceport in French Guiana in South America, which is part of France. But the satellites are getting smaller and no longer have to be transported by large Ariane rockets. Many are the size of the shoebox, which opens up new perspectives. So, the race is on. A base is being built on the northern Norwegian island of Andøya, which the Bremen-based OHB group plans to use for satellites operated by its rocket factory Augsburg, the RFA, that's the name of the company. Portugal is considering takeoffs from the Azores, and Germany, where some startups are based that develop rockets, is planning a floating launch platform in the North Sea. According to estimates by the British government, the space market will grow to around £490 billion by 2030. Britain feels well equipped to benefit from this. Around 45,000 people already work in the industry, and there are now numerous jobs being added. On Unst, with a few hundred inhabitants, 140 jobs are to be created and several dozen in the rest of the Shetland Islands. There should be 740 new jobs around Sutherland. London definitely has expertise. Most recently, Timothy Peake carried out research as a British astronaut on the International Space Station ISS for half a year in 2015-16. By 2030, the UK aims to be the largest commercial provider of small satellite launches in Europe. Weather satellites, climate protection, defense, no area is left out in Johnson's old program. State Secretary George Freeman sees his country as a scientific superpower leading international space missions. But there is criticism of the national tones. The fact that London is planning its own spaceports is not anti-European, says Jan Werner, former head of the European Space Agency, to the German press agency. Fundamentally, the funding is good, but it's not nice under a national heading, says Werner. It would be better to have a strong Great Britain in a strong Europe. Other space insiders see the British strategy as the first steps towards decoupling. Johnson wants to show after Brexit that Great Britain can also cope on its own in the prestigious space industry, says an expert who does not want to be named. Great Britain is working on a self-sufficiency, he says. And I'll see you in my next video. Bis gleich.